land on target, just like each and every one of you have done in here today for us. I remember pondering myself in the United States military, being in the Special Forces, being on a Ranger team, a Halos team, a Scuba team, and a Special Force A team. And one split second, it was all taken away. We remember to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America first and foremost. So I want to thank each and every one of you here, and I salute you on Veterans Day, and I'm just glad to be able to be here for you and with the teams here. I know they're fortunate. There are a lot of men and women out there that haven't had the opportunity to be here or not with us because they're gone. But we can't forget our fallen comrades either. It's a salute to each and every one of you. From the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, from all of our veterans from Vietnam, and also Korea, World War II, Vietnam, current world situation, Iraq, Afghanistan, Panama, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. A lot of men and women here today. Again, I salute each and every one of you, and especially our distinguished guests that are here today. We salute you, and remember to continue to land on target. Hooah!
Well, as I was saying, this is our Veterans Day ceremony, Arlington's, and we will kick it off in the right way. Our music today was provided by the Cowtown Music Club under the direction of the Honorable Brent Carr, Judge of County Criminal Court Number 9. And I just want to say this about him. You know, before he became a lawyer and a prosecutor and a judge, he served in the United States Marine Corps, attaining the rank of Major. So he always does this for us, and we appreciate it very much. Now, you may have heard our piper today. That's Lieutenant Colonel Mark Latham, United States Army retired, and his service also included time in the Special Service. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin our ceremony with the presentation of colors by the Arlington Fire Department Color Guard and the Republic of Vietnam Color Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Okay, our invocation today is led by Jim Quick. He's a United States Air Force Colonel who retired after over 25 years of service. His highest award is the Legion of Merit. He served 3 years on the Defense Health Board, and he's currently Professor of Leadership and holds the Goolsbee Faust Endowed Chair at UT Arlington. He's immediate past president of the Arlington Great Southwest Rotary Club, which is the organizer of all of our activities today. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Quick.
Please bow your hearts with me. Lord God Almighty, we know that you are our ultimate fortress in time of trouble. Under your wings we find safety from the storm. We come to you on bended knee this Veterans Day. You know before we speak our failings and our flaws, so we ask your forgiveness. By your grace we are saved. We come to you in thanksgiving for the veterans and warriors who have and do guarantee this great nation the freedoms too often denied many of your people on earth. We give special thanks this day for the Vietnam-era veterans who answered their country's call, be they Americans or South Vietnamese. We ask that you bless our ceremony and fellowship today, helping us to remember all those who have gone before and given their all that we might live and flourish in freedom, safety, and security. We ask that you enable us to continue to be a beacon for the world as you are a guiding light even in the darkest night. All these things I ask in the name of your Son and my Savior, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Now, Michael Rose will lead us in the pledge and the national anthem. He's Business Relationship Manager with Chase Bank. Michael Rose.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And since this is all of our songs, please join me in singing our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as we play the anthem of the Republic of Vietnam.
Ngày công giờ đôi tiếng lên đáp lời sông u, giờ lòng cùng đi nhìn sinh biết gì cần sớm, vì tương lai quốc dân cùng sống pha khói đêm, làm sao cho núi sông từ nay không tổn hề, xin cho thành khơi trên đường xa đủ nước lấy màu đao đè vào.
Đấy, phải 2 lần. Bước 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Now, my wife found a dog tag here. It says Arnold, United States Marine Corps, M. Christian. I don't know if that belongs to anybody here, but if it does, we'll make sure you get it. We've got many dignitaries here today, and we want to hear each name. So, if you would, please hold your applause to the very end. I know we're going to introduce the mayor in just a moment, but first I want to introduce our city council members who are here. Charlie Parker, District 1, representing District 1. Councilman Parker served as a Navy fighter pilot. And we're going to get them all through, and then we'll give them all the applause that they deserve. Sherry Capehart, District 2. Robert Rivera represents District 3. Councilwoman Catherine Wyman represents District 4, and she's also Mayor Pro Tem. Lana Wolf represents District 5. District 6 is Robert Shepard. Jimmy Bennett is District 7. And Michael Glaspie, District 8, and Councilman Glaspie served in the Army in the infantry during the Vietnam War. So please give a round of applause to our Arlington City Council. Now, we have a number of elected officials here today, and a few of them we'll hear from in just a moment. I know State Representative Tony Tenderholt is here, and he has a resolution to read. I don't know if he's... Are you here, sir? Come on up and read your resolution. We'll get to the rest of them in just a moment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Whereas for more than 235 years, individuals from all walks of life have taken up arms and sworn an oath to support and defend the principles upon which our country was founded. And whereas throughout our history, courageous men and women have donned the uniform of the United States Armed Forces and built a noble tradition of faithful and dedicated service to our nation, Veterans Day has been set aside as a national holiday to honor those American patriots who answered the call of duty, preserving our freedoms and often making the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas we can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to those heroic men and women who served, many of whom were wounded or even died in battle. The unwavering commitment of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and merchant mariners has preserved our freedoms and saved millions around the world from tyranny. Whereas we continue to draw inspiration from the heroism and dedication of those who currently serve and sacrifice for the cause of liberty and justice. And it is truly fitting that all Texans honor the military veterans whose selfless service and sacrifice have secured the freedom we enjoy now. Therefore, be it resolved that Veterans Day 2015 be commemorated, and that all Texans be encouraged to recognize the enormous contributions of current and former members of the United States Armed Services. Signed, Tony Tenderholt.
I know a number of other elected officials are here, and I saw Matt Hayes here, Constable, Tarrant County Constable. I know he's here somewhere. Ah, there he is. He's sitting with Clint Burgess, also a constable. So they're right here. I'm trying to find the list. Ah, here it is. Other than the city council members, I think that's it. Is there any other elected official that I missed? Don't see any. Now, give me just a moment. I am going to introduce Congressman Barton in just a moment. We're very happy to have him here. I know that Ron Wright was going to be here. I don't see him, but I did talk to him, and he told me he would be here. So he's probably running a little bit late. Now, before we introduce the mayor, I want to do this. I know that we have some Purple Heart recipients in our audience today. If you are one of those who's earned the Purple Heart, would you please stand and let us give you our appreciation? And we always ask, we always start at the top of the order of precedence for Valor medals, and we always start with the Medal of Honor. We used to have a Medal of Honor recipient who attended every ceremony, but is there anyone here who's earned that medal? I wouldn't expect that to be the case. Don't see any. How about the Distinguished Service Cross, the Navy Cross, or the Air Force Cross? Is there anybody here who's earned that award for valor? I know there's some people here who've earned the Silver Star. If you've earned the Silver Star, would you please stand and let us give you our appreciation? I know they're here, they're just not standing. And now for the Bronze Star. Do we have anyone who's earned the Bronze Star? I want to thank you all very much. Now, I'm happy to tell you we had a late addition to our program today. Congressman Joe Barton was able to make it, and we're so glad about that. Congressman Barton has represented the 6th District of Texas since 1984, and he's Chairman Emeritus of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Joe Barton.
Well, thank you, Clete. I am honored to be here. I'm glad you didn't say how many of you have ever had a Lone Star, because then I would have had to stand up to that. So I did not serve in the military, so I'm not a veteran, but I'm honored to be here. I'm glad that Clete introduced our city council and the mayor. I thought they were the Blues Brothers, so I'm glad to know that they're on the city council. Today we are honoring our veterans, and it is symbolic that it is the 11th day, the 11th hour, and the 11th month. And for those of you that are older veterans, that's the armistice that ended World War I in November of 1918, 97 years ago. Special recognition today to our Vietnam veterans. And I did not serve in the military, but had I served, that would have been the time I did serve. 2.5 million American servicemen and women served in Vietnam. 58,000 were killed in the line of duty. Over 500,000 were wounded. So that was a very significant war. I want to tell you one story about one of those young men that served. His name was Roy McClellan. Roy's father worked for my grandfather and uncle in Spiggerville, Texas, at the L.E. Bice and Sons Gin, and then later on at my uncle's store, the Spiggerville store in Bait House. Roy was a little bit older than me. He was 2 or 3 years older, but we grew up together. He worked in the gin, he worked in the store, and when I got old enough, the cotton gin was gone by that time, but the store was there, and I worked out at the store with Roy. He had a car, and I didn't. And so we spent many evenings running around in his 53 Chevy. He provided the car, and I provided the gas. And since my uncle owned the store that had the gas pumps, really I should say my uncle provided the gas. So. But when I graduated from high school in 1968, I had a scholarship, academic scholarship to Texas A&M. So I went to college. Roy didn't have the money to go to college, and he got drafted. And when I came back for Christmas in 1969, I went out to my uncle's store, and there was a newspaper clipping posted in a very prominent place in the store. Roy McClellan was killed in action in Vietnam in November, I believe, of 1969. He was on patrol. He was in the infantry, and they were trying to clean out a specific area, and the Viet Cong had booby-trapped some old trees and things, and Roy's job was to make sure it was clear for the other soldiers to go through that specific area, and he was killed by a booby trap. He's on the Vietnam Wall in Washington, if you ever go to Washington, D.C. I can't tell you the exact location, but just look up Roy McClellan of Waco, Texas. So special significance for me today to be here as you recognize all veterans, but especially the Vietnam era veterans. We have not treated our Vietnam veterans as they deserve to be treated. That was an unpopular war, but it was the right war. If we went back to Vietnam today, the Vietnam people, out of sight of the communist regime would tell you that they would be much happier had the South Vietnamese government won that war. So it's the only war that America has lost. It wasn't lost by those of you that served. It was lost by the political lack of leadership in this country. And I would say never again will that happen. Thank you. If and when we commit our young men and women in harm's way to protect freedom, it should be to win. And we have a threat. ISIS is a threat. Their culture does not share our value system. They want to destroy us. We cannot let that happen. And as we stand here today in Arlington, there are a little over 1 million young men and women protecting us. That is 1/3 of 1% of the United States population. 1/3 of 1%. They are in Syria. They are in Afghanistan. They are literally spread all over the globe, protecting our freedoms and our ability to associate and assemble here and honor those of you that have served in the past. So I'm honored as United States Congressman to be a small part of this ceremony. My hat's off to those of you that have served, and my commitment is we will guarantee the best equipment, the best training, the best technology, and if you're hurt, protecting us, the best care in our veterans' hospitals. God bless you, and God bless our great country.
Well, it's a great privilege now to recognize our mayor. Jeff Williams was elected mayor back in May of this year after decades of public service in Arlington. He's president of Arlington-based Graham Associates, an award-winning engineering and planning firm. In 2009, he was presented with the State of Texas Outstanding Civil Engineering Achievement Award. He's a graduate of Texas Tech University with a degree in civil engineering, and he was inducted into the university's Civil Engineering Academy for Engineering Excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our mayor, Jeff Williams.
Is this not a beautiful setting to have a Veterans Day ceremony? And it also is very symbolic of the cooperation between the South Vietnamese and the Americans that took place in the Vietnam War. Now that same cooperation, now as we have our Asian American citizens working together here, have created an incredible statue and memorial here to the Vietnam War. And I'm very grateful for the work that took place on that. And of course we have Peter Dow, we have Dr. Dang, of course our City Council representing the Arlington Tomorrow Foundation, many others who had a hand in that. And then of course congratulations to the Veterans Park Foundation for what all happened here and all the work that went into this, because now we have a place to come and remember that is very meaningful and a place to have this type of ceremony. And it's great to see that sunshine, isn't it, here on a Veterans Day. But on behalf of all the residents of Arlington, I wish to thank all of the veterans here today, and then also all of the local veterans who were not able to make it. We also want to thank our local sons and daughters who are presently serving in the military. I look forward to this opportunity here today to visit with you and acknowledge our veterans for the service and dedication that they have given to this great country. You know, most veterans count their time in service among the most defining experience of their lives. And I know that my grandfather, my father-in-law, the stories there of sacrifice, but yet the reward of knowing that they were fighting for freedom made such a difference. You know, for many, military service drew out the best in them, instilling high standards of diligence, discipline, and loyalty. They lived by a code and stood ready to fight and die for our country. And we've come to appreciate more than ever the veterans of Korea and Vietnam who endured the worst that war can bring. Massive casualties, merciless enemies, and in terrible conditions, and for some, long captivity. And also for some veterans, the nation's gratitude was slow in coming, as Congressman Barden said. But today, I believe all veterans know that their sacrifices are appreciated. It is a new day, and we appreciate what is being done, or what has been done in these wars, and we want to continue to honor the courage that was exemplified in both the Korean and Vietnam wars. We also want to extend our sincerest gratitude and thanks for your sacrifice and selflessness as you made and continue to make our country a better place. And on this day, your presence here at the ceremony is a very vivid reminder of how courage and leadership leads to service. Your lives, your courage, your leadership, your service to our national security, as well as the sacrifice of your fallen comrades, are what we honor today. And one of the real privileges here that I have is to get to read the proclamation on this Veterans Day. Whereas Veterans Day has its origins on November 11th, 1918, armistice which brought World War I to a conclusion. And whereas the Allied victory of World War I affirmed the strength of great nations acting together for high purposes. And whereas the people of the United States caused through their elected representatives the designating of November 11th as a federal legal holiday, which in 1954 became officially known thereafter as Veterans Day. And whereas Veterans Day continues to be celebrated and commemorated with solemn observances in honor of all Americans who have served their country in times of war and conflict, and whereas Veterans Day has become a significant part of our American heritage as we recognize the millions of our citizens whose military service has had a profound effect on history, and whereas the courage, honor, sacrifice, and dedication which veterans of the United States Armed Forces have displayed in the cause of justice, freedom, and democracy are most worthy of recognition. Now therefore, I, Jeff Williams, Mayor of the City of Arlington, Texas, and on behalf of the Arlington City Council, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2015 as Veterans Day, and ask that this day be observed with appropriate ceremonies in honor of those who have served to preserve our principles of justice, freedom, and democracy. Cleet, I want to present this proclamation to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. You know, this beautiful monument behind me was prepared by our sculptor, Mark Bird, and he's going to address us now. I just want to say, if you'll notice, the medal is on his chest. You'll know why he's here.
Well, thank you. I stand here, a Marine combat veteran with a few decorations, of which I'm proud. But I stand here in great humility and awe. There are men here with us today who fought not one tour, not two tours, but a continuous tour of duty for 10 years or more in that war. And after the war, many of them served 5, 10, 15 years in re-education camps that were euphemistically called, well, they were really prisons. And so it's with great humility and pride that I have been honored to create this sculpture. And as the sculpture was commissioned by the Vietnamese American community as their thank you to the United States of America, to us, for fighting for their freedom. And I thank them for fighting for our freedom, for the freedom of free men all over the world. I have a thank you gift here that I've brought for the directors of the Heroes of South Vietnam Foundation, which funded this memorial. And believe me, that was no small task, the work that they had to do over about 5 years to make this happen. Could you guys come up here? Dr. Hung Dang, Duc Mai, Peter Dow, and Tom Bui. Tom Bui is one of those men. He was a Vietnamese paratrooper. He fought in places where we never went as United States Marines. This is a Republic of Vietnam flag, which was given to me when we started this project, I believe by Duke. I return the flag. Ironically, a great movie about the Vietnam War premiered a couple of weeks ago in Dallas, and I had the opportunity to see it and meet the producer of the movie and the author of the great book upon which it was based. This book tells the story of a battle which most Americans are not aware of. It was a very important battle in the war. It was a battle in which the Vietnamese Marines and Army fought against a Russian-style tank army with hundreds and hundreds of tanks, self-propelled anti-aircraft artillery, radar-directed anti-aircraft artillery. What most of you know about it, that was when Bat-21 got shot down. Well, during that battle, the South Vietnamese proved their mettle. We never had to fight against any more than 2 or 3 little light tanks over on the Cambodian border during the entire war. This was breaking of the truce that was to come wholesale. This book is based on that story, The Defense of Dong Ha, by a courageous Marine advisor, a Kovan, which means trusted advisor. Throughout the war, each Vietnamese unit had an American advisor with them. And even after we pulled our troops out, the Kovan were there with them. John Ripley was a Kovan. He almost single-handedly blew up a major bridge